boys and girls, welcome back. It's been a while since I put out any videos here. I've been spending most of my time fishing, or trying to fish rather. Weather really hasn't cooperated this year so much for me, but I got some new patterns here and just kind of some standbys to start with here. Get back into things here for the summer since I'm not going to be fishing. I just found that it was too much to try to produce videos both on the bench and in the stream, so I took a break. This is a bug. This is just a little brown caddis, and can kind of, changing materials and changing the looks of things for, how I wanted, comparing to what I was seeing on the water. And I thought that there's something that I really haven't gone through before, with you guys, is using like natural wings. And what this is a pheasant wing, or a pheasant feather rather. I had bought, I don't know, I guess it was earlier in the winter when we were traveling a bit, different materials that I was trying for wings. This is one that was on that Little Caddis, and it looks great here, but I didn't think it functioned very well in the water. It seemed to cover up anything, and you really couldn't get any transparency with it. Other material was not stiff enough, so I decided just to go back to, a natural feather. I've used this method before, and I'm going to go over a couple of things here with you as far as how we go about doing that. Okay, everybody, if you've ever bought like a fly tying kit to kind of get started, you have all these little brass, at least these ones were brass. I don't know what the new ones are now. These are, 30 plus years old, but different tweezers is what you think they are. But what these are actually are wing burners. Essentially, you take a feather, from a pheasant or anything, and, you kind of put it out over the wing like this, burn off the excess, and you get nice little perfect mayfly wings. Okay, this one here is a little bit fatter, and that is a huge wing, by the way. It kind of makes, I haven't really used that one so much, but these skinny ones, I use for mayflies, to where you could just tie this on to the hook here, peel away what you don't need so that you can size it correctly, and yeah, you have a pattern that has natural looking wings. They are transparent to a degree. They got great modeling on them, and can really make your flies look a little bit more natural. Okay, the newest thing that's on the market now are wings that are shaped. Okay, this is a caddis wing. This is what we're using here, and I'm going to go through how to use this, how to pick your feathers, and we'll just tie in the rest of the bug. It's pretty easy after that. And the first thing that you kind of have to do is get a pheasant. First thing, okay? Now, a pheasant has all kinds of different feathers on it that you can use for this. I like the pheasant just because of the coloring of them. Okay, you can see these ones here have like a little touch of green and stuff on them. So there's just a huge variety of different ways that you can do this. The most important thing is trying to pick a feather that is symmetrical. Okay, these feathers that kind of come off the breast with this little bit of green in them, or you can tell that they're very symmetrical. You're not going to be using this outside. You're burning all that off. So we want to look at we want to look at this inside ring that's close to the stem, because on this pattern, or any pattern, you want the stem to be viable, because that's how you're tying it in. So to use these kind of feathers is really nice. If you want something a little different shade, just find a different feather. Same type of thing here. Okay, you can see on this side it's really dark, this side is not. So it's not extremely symmetrical as far as what you're viewing it as, but when you're picking feathers, that's kind of what you want to look for. This one here is the one we're going to use today. You can tell on both sides of the stem that a very similar type pattern. Okay, what you want to avoid are feathers that look like this. Okay, see, not only is this curved, this one here has got a curve to it as opposed to being straight, but you have a lot different. Let me turn this around. You have a lot longer fibers on this side and a lot shorter fibers on this side, so you're going to get one side of it that's going to look dark and the other side's going to look mottled. Now, is that really going to make a difference? I don't know. It's aesthetics. But, you know, the whole idea of doing this is to try to make them look as natural as possible so that the fish will eat them. Okay? So when you're picking your feathers, you know, I've used quail. I use pheasant all the time because pheasants, you know, are pretty easy to come by. You know, you can use duck feathers, anything along that line. So let me get this one set up for us. And I'll show you how we do this. Okay, so these are just, like I said, just a pair of tweezers, but these ones with the shape on them are like reverse tweezers. So when you let go of them, they'll squeeze, as opposed to these ones where you have to squeeze it, you know, tight. These are a lot nicer because you don't have to maintain that perfect, you know, putting that stem directly in the center, you know, on the bug here. I'm sorry, I wasn't in the frame. Putting the feather stem directly in between the folds on, you know, on the wing burner. So you put it in there like that. Get your torch. And obviously you don't want to burn the stem off. I'll try to do this and not burn the fly I have on the vise. Okay, and that's what happens. Don't touch that, that's hot. Use a paper towel or something to wipe off all that charred type stuff that's on there. And when you pull that stem out, you're gonna get something like this, okay? You can peel those little charcoals off and you can see the shape, the symmetrical. You got two little white points, two little dark edges there. And to size it, you're just gonna peel off, you know, from the bottom of the stem, fibers by fibers by fibers, till you get the size that you want. Okay, that's still pretty big, so we'll probably take a little bit more off of that. So now the question comes up: when you tie this on and you get it wet, what's going to happen to that feather? A lot of times, if you don't treat the feather, that is, it can start to separate on you. You know, the little fibers come off and it starts looking more like a mess than it does a wing. So what I used to do, I had, you know, just a heavy hairspray. You know, and you get a bunch of them, you lay them out, spray them on the top and the bottom, let them dry, and that worked well. Now that you have UV resin, it's even easier. So we're going to take this feather. I'm going to take, you know, your Solarez or whatever. Put a little drop on your finger. Rub that together and then just coat that, you know, with the resin that's on your fingers. Be thorough. And you wipe that off. You can't even tell that anything happened to it. Get your torch And now you're going to cook it just for a few seconds on each side. All that is going to do is just hold those fibers together, okay? Well, that's not all it's going to do, but it will do that. That's the main purpose. The nice thing is, you know, it's going to fluoresce a little bit, and you can tell that from the wing that's on there. See the whites and stuff, how they pop real good. Okay, that's how you're going to prep for this. So that's our wing. You can try different feathers. If I got, you know, a football game on or something, I'm down in my office. Yeah, it's just a, you know, a mundane activity. I got bags, you know, full of feathers that, you know, you can go through. And, yeah, you spend an afternoon just making wings. That way, put them in a little container. You're going to have what you need to go forward. So that's the wing. Okay. As far as ingredients, what we're looking at here, hook, I have Fulling Mill 5067. This is just a caddis hook, okay, not a jig hook. I have a 2.5 millimeter mottled brown head on there. I showed you the caddis wings. The thread we're going to use is just a Danville. This is the lightest that I could find and still be brown. This is the same color you use for like a Jack Daniels. And the dubbing we're using is kind of what you can mix and match as, okay? What we have here, this one is like a fox squirrel, and you can see that, you know, a little bit longer fibers, kind of looks like legs. I like the fox squirrel because there's a lot of big guard hairs in it. This one here is a gray squirrel, a lot smaller fibers, and yeah, I put some antennas on it to give it that little bit extra, you know, look, if you want to do that. I don't know that the fish can see them or not, but it just gives it a little bit different color. For this pattern, you know, I'm sticking with the fox squirrel just to give it that little bit of a leggy type of a look. For the antennas, these are just those little micro fivets, mono fivets. That's in a dun color. Okay, let's jump into this. Alright, start our thread on here. This is just a thread body. You don't want it heavy, you don't want it to be very thick. These little brown caddis, you know, they're pretty small. So I'm gonna try to represent that by just keeping stuff simple here. Now I am spinning this thread counterclockwise as I'm wrapping it, because this is not Nana silk. It's not going to lay completely flat. Just going to build this up a little bit. Okay, and I took this down over the drop because I want that body to be visible underneath the wing. Okay, if you put it on a straight hook like a jig hook or something like that, I think you're gonna lose, you know, a little bit of something that you could make the bug better on. So, just get a little brown marker, color an inch or so of that. I do both sides just to make sure. Let that dry off for a second. Okay, once we get it on there, now I'm gonna spin the cord or spin the bobbin clockwise because I want to cord that up. best as I can. And then I'm just trying to make as many segments, even segments, as I can until I get up here to the head. Okay, I'm gonna tie that off. And I'm gonna put a little bit of UV on this. You don't really need to, it's just thread. But it will make them a little bit more durable, and it can darken it up just a touch, just to give it a little bit of contrast for, you know, the wing that's going to be on top of it. I don't coat that the whole way up to the bead, just to where the thorax would start. Okay. Okay, so there we go. Little brown body down past the curve. Now we're gonna take our feather that we just did, and we're gonna place that on top here. Okay, so when we put the feather on it, you want to make sure that it's not going to go past the body like this. All right, so you're going to tie it just so that it's just even with that body that's dropping down behind it. I'm having a hard time holding on to this. Put a couple wraps in there. Straighten it up, make sure that it's where you want it, and then you can tighten down on it. I always go back a little bit. So that I can keep that secure. Positioning this obviously is now, after I get it secure, then you can fold it a little bit. Okay. Trap that in there before I cut it. Okay, there you go. That's your wing. Here you can still see a little bit of the body coming out there. Now we want to get our dubbing. Let's have just a little bit of fox squirrel. This is for the thorax. There's a couple different ways that you can go about this as far as placing that wing on. If you put the dubbing on first, okay, it'll make your wing stand up a little bit, similar to this one, okay? But to have it flat on the back there, that's probably what the bug is going to be most interested in, okay? So after we get that dubbing on there, then we're going to get our little fibbits. And you only need 2 of them, so that's probably the hardest thing to do, is just get 2. Okay, now I'm going to separate them a little bit. There we go. I'm going to tie these on front or facing forward so I can get them in position and separated the way I want them to be. Okay, see how that is there? I'm gonna cinch that down. That'll make them stand up a little bit. Then I'm gonna fold them back. Put a couple tight wraps on there. Tie this off. Just make sure you don't tie in those fibbits. All right, we're gonna cut that, and then we're gonna cut the back of this. Okay. So now, get your little brush, and I would tell you be cautious of that wing. Can tease that out a little bit. You want the front to be a little bit buggy. Okay. And there you go. Little brown caddis. You can preen and make it as buggy as you want to. But like I said, just be cautious of that wing. Because if you catch it with your brush, there's a good chance you're going to separate those fibers. So there you go. Little brown caddis. Look for some of those tweezers. This is just a very easy way to do these wings. You know, if you're putting wings on this type of a bug, or you're putting them on, you know, mayflies, or anything along that line. You know, there's thousands of feathers that you can pull off of one pheasant, and yeah, change things up, make it look the way that you want to. Sometimes in the fall, you know, make this a little bit darker, a little bit more gray. You know, if you're up in the State College area, the Granum hatches in the spring, they're kind of more black looking than brown looking. So there's all kinds of ways you can go about it. Give that one a shot. It'll catch you some fish. All right, thanks for stopping in, guys. We'll see you again soon. Johnny Blues,